Okay, everybody, welcome to our May 5th Tri-State Triumphs. And on this Tuesday, we are taking you to one of my very favorite cities in the entire world, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for one of Macomb's finest. You may remember Davis Hendrickson very fondly as a three-sport star for the Macomb Bombers who went on to great baseball success at the University of Illinois. And Davis now worked his way in college administration, University of Pittsburgh, where he is now the Assistant Athletic Director for Premium Sales and Development. Davis, first of all, thank you for joining us. Great to see you and great to have you join us on the big segment right here. How have you been?
Well, thanks, Chris. It's always great to speak with you. It's been a few years, so it's great to see you face to face here. But when you reached out, I was excited because I follow your work closely. Specifically, I've been following this series, and I've learned a lot from it. There's a lot of people from our area doing amazing things. So I know I'm in good company, and I'm humbled that you reached out. I'm doing great personally. Thank you for asking. Have a beautiful family here. My wife, Katie, who's by far the best athlete in the family. She brought home a lot more national level hardware than I did. So she fills up the display cabinets. And then we have a one-year-old daughter who's a joy, Jane. So we're doing really well. Thanks.
From the standpoint of going into college administration, I know after baseball ended for you at Illinois, you were afforded a number of opportunities. How did you kind of find your path here, Davis?
Well, that's a good question. You're right. At the end of your college career, whether you play a sport or not, you have a lot of choices to make. So what I really looked at was I tried to evaluate myself as much as possible. I tried to evaluate what it is that I wanted to do, what I could see myself doing in 30 years and being really excited about was really the main thing I tried to focus on. So I thought back to my days in Macomb. I had a unique perspective growing up. My dad was a college football coach, was for 30 years. So I got to see the day of the life, the grind. I was very ingrained in what it looked like to be a coach, and I love coaching. I still coach. It's not my profession, obviously. So what I ended up doing was I thought about that, and I remembered how much I thought Dr. Tim Van Alstyne had the coolest job in the world at Western Illinois. And some things that stuck out to me was when my dad would come home and he'd be all pumped up, he'd tell my brother and I, the upcoming Power 5 school that Western would be playing. Every other year Western would play a really big Power 5 FBS school, non-conference game. And he'd come home excited when we get that announcement. He'd have the media guide, lay it out. My brother and I would look through the media guide. But that kind of got me thinking, what went on to make college football possible? And so as I got older, I asked my dad those questions. He explained the athletic director, did so much to make it all possible, make the experiences I had growing up possible. And then getting to see it firsthand and be a product of it in college, that only grew, my thought process as to that's the career I wanted to go into. And then I just had a lot of good advice along the way to help me get my foot in the door, starting at Illinois.
So in 2018, you moved to Pittsburgh, which is obviously, you want to talk about intense. Obviously, you are working in Power 5 conferences, both the start and now currently with Pitt. What's been like? What's the experience been like, Davis? And what are sort of day-to-day duties that are entailed job that you have right now?
Yeah, absolutely. The experience is amazing. I think, I continue just to be amazed by the amazing people that are in this industry. A lot of really, really intelligent people that I learn from every day. And so I just do my best to keep an open mind every day. It's an evolving industry. I mean, as you watch the news, you watch ESPN, there's always changes in college athletics. And now with the current, environment of the world, there's going to be a lot more. So keeping an open mind has always been very important to me. And then, I kind of have always had that perspective of the small school with the Western Illinois type of background. And so that was a changing experience when I got to Illinois and, was the big school in the state and worked in Illinois and now at Pittsburgh. So there's definitely a lot of pinch me moments when I'm walking around Heinz Field or, playing over at, South Bend a couple of years ago. So it's an amazing experience. My day-to-day, ultimately, the first thing I look at when I go into office is, I'm an assistant athletic director. So my job is to our student athletes, give them the best experience possible. I'm really passionate about that. I had that experience. I grew up around student athletes, my dad's players that, again, I think really shaped my life, my outlook on life. And so that's a passion point for me. I try to just always make sure I'm keeping the student athletes in mind. Now, within any organization, within any team, everyone has to have roles. So Pitt Athletics is a big Power 5 school. We have 250 employees. Everyone has to do something well. My focus is on the external side. So what I do, I'm always thinking about our fan base, our donors, our season ticket holders, and how I can improve those experiences, how I can get more people to the games. Ultimately looking for ways to generate revenue, because as we know, this isn't cheap, and we want to give these experiences. We want it to be life-changing, and it takes finances to do that. So from a premium standpoint, I oversee the operations of our premium, our marketing, our sales, trying to, again, look for new revenue streams. We have a great facility, the Peterson Event Center, where we play men's basketball and women's basketball, and then we play football at Heinz Field. So that in itself has been a huge learning experience to be around one of the best organizations in the NFL and pick their brain and learn from them. And then I try to marry that with fundraising as well. That's the development aspect you noted there. So I want to be out as much as I can out of my office, meeting people, meeting our alumni, former athletes, donors, and just educating them on what they're giving to when they give to Pitt, and always looking for more people to continue to join the Pitt family.
I think there's probably a misconception for people who don't work in industry that, oh, college sports sell themselves, which is nothing could be further from the truth. And you have a clientele, as you touched on, working in sales, that obviously wears their passions on their sleeves, for the Pitt Panthers in this particular case, and before for the Illini. What's that component like, dealing with something people love and that a passion project for them, but is also partially your business?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something you got to keep in mind when things are going really, really well. People are, that are fans are really happy, and when things aren't going well, they'll be a little unhappy. The thing that I always keep in mind is that has nothing to do with me personally. So I just try to keep it very professional. If we're on, a 4-game losing streak in football, I understand that the meeting I had planned a month ago, it might not, go quite as planned. But I have to be prepared for that, and I have to know that it's not anything personal. Like you said, it's part of the business, and that's the beauty of college athletics. There's so much that you can't control. But what you can control is what you bring to those meetings. So I'm always trying to be over-prepared. I always want to communicate well, and I always want to make sure I'm following through after those meetings. If I'm doing those things well, then the people that I'm having those communications with respect me and want to continue working with me no matter how the team does that weekend.
Davis, it's an incredibly passionate sports, as most people are very well aware. Just from the standpoint of getting to work there and be on the ground level for Pitt Athletics, and you touched on all the wonderful venues, and man, Pitt Athletics is a large canvas beyond just, obviously the big sports that people see most visibly. What's that whole experience been like for you to be able to kind of soak that in a town where people, literally wear their passions on their sleeves?
Yeah, like I said, it's a unique industry. So every day for me, I don't need motivation to go into work, because it is such a passionate world that I'm living in now. Specifically in Pittsburgh, yeah, it's a city that was built on hard work. And so to earn that respect, in my perspective, is to work really, really hard for the people that support Pitt. There's a lot of overlap, kind of as you alluded to, between the Steelers, the Pirates, the Penguins, and the Panthers. And so understanding that there's people that will come to the game on Saturday and then be back on Sunday at the same stadium. That's a big investment. So doing as best as I can to understand that, and making sure that I'm always putting Pitt at the highest level. And then to your point, it's a huge campus. There's a lot of sports, and that goes back to my revenue side is usually going to be driven by those revenue sports. But going back to the assistant AD side and my playing days as a baseball player, I always remember that there's 17 other sports that need funded and need support and need donors. And given my background, I do work closely with the baseball program. So it's neat just to see how all this comes together and works together. And as I grew up and learned, eventually it's more than football. And now I'm in that every day.
Do you have a favorite sports alumni Pitt brush against, or interaction that you've had working day to day with an institution that has turned out some incredibly famous athletes?
Yeah, I was actually blown away by that. And it's as bad, I admit, that I didn't know all the amazing alumni. And we launched the Hall of Fame, the first ever Pitt Hall of Fame, my first year here. We launched that. So getting to see them up close and personal, it's not that I don't have their cell phone numbers, but just seeing the way they walk and their presence, Dan Marino, Tony Dorsett, there's a lot of other ones. But the one that I work with closely, he's actually part of our staff, is Sam Van Clancy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, some people will know that name, some won't, but you should look him up because he played basketball at Pitt and holds a lot of records, had over 1,000 rebounds and over 1,000 points in a 4-year career. And then I went on to have an 11-year career as a defensive lineman in the NFL, and didn't play football until senior year of college. So he's someone I'm always picking his brain, and it's just he's a great storyteller. So he's really fun to be around.
You've kind of already, to some degree, hinted at it, but your experience as a Division I baseball player, and you had a ton of success, not just athletically, but academically at the same time, while at Illinois, do what you did and being a part of some pretty successful Illini baseball team. How much of that spins forward into your day every day, the lessons that you learn, I guess not just that, with the Illini, but obviously being around Macomb Bomber, football, basketball, and baseball as well all those years?
Absolutely. The crossover is incredible. It's every day, every second. I reference my time as a college baseball player because it meant so much, and it taught me so much. And I'll step back a moment, though. The best lessons I ever learned was from the Hendrickson household, and just seeing my parents, the way they went about it every day. I'll reference my dad here, but my mom had the same mentality as my dad. And so seeing both of them, the way they did that. So my dad was always in a high pressure, highly visible position as a college football coach. But to see the way he always led with a service mentality. He always had integrity. He always did things right. He always made time to help people outside of work. So luckily enough, I think I picked up on some of those things, and that's what I try to use as my core values now as I lead. That said, I saw the other side as well, as that fierce competitor that my dad brought to work every day. He knew there was 11 teams on his schedule that year that were going to try to do everything they could to beat Western. And so he was just the fire in his eye when he'd go to work and practice and seeing that environment. That honestly, just being at home and seeing the way my dad went about his work taught me more than anything else. But then as I progressed through my life, at every stop at Macomb, starting at elementary school through junior high and high school, every stop there was someone there that was willing to go out of their way to help me. Multiple people, beyond their role, you name it, coach, teacher, youth pastor, they were willing to take that extra step, go the extra mile to try to help me get to the next level. And that's what makes Macomb so special, are those people, the community. When your high school librarians, your neighbor, and your doctor lives down the street, it makes it a really tight community, and it makes for a lot of really good advice. And then once I got to college, coaches that would pour into me and gave me more than, or I guess I should say, pulled more out of me than I thought I had, and really helped me again get my foot in the door at college athletics. But the crossover is amazing. The thing that I always try to keep in mind is, what did I do well that helped me play in baseball? It was the fundamentals. And so I use that term all the time. When I do speak with people interested in getting into athletics, I just say, do the fundamentals well. And again, that's being over-prepared. If I was walking up to the plate in Ann Arbor, I wanted to be more prepared than the pitcher. That's what I needed for that confidence. So now when I'm going into meetings, I don't have an opponent, but I just want to be so prepared in every aspect, every turn, that I could have a reasonable answer. And then another one with baseball is adjust. You got to be able to adjust on the fly. I talked about how much college athletic changes, and if you're not able to adjust, you're not going to be able to continue to improve. And so you see 3 sliders in a row and you swing and miss all of them, you better go back and adjust. And so I take that same mindset to work every day as well.
Are you? I guess the easy way to ask this, Davis, is Myers is the head football coach at Kansas Wesleyan. You're in college athletics, and you touched on being around your dad daily. Is it any surprise at all that, his sons, Mark Hendrickson's sons, went into a career of service in college athletics?
I guess it's not surprising. I guess what I would say was surprises people is my dad never pushed us that direction. And again, I think I alluded to it. It was the manner that he did it made us want to go into it, because there would be people that have that job that it wouldn't look very attractive. But my dad always did it with integrity and respect, and I think that's what drove Myers and I that direction. People might be surprised that I'm not a coach, and I kind of alluded to that too, the direction that I went. But Myers, I mean,
did you at all think about that, David, at any point? Just because Dad was so, prevalent and such a role model in your life, did you ever think about coaching at all?
I did. I thought about coaching. I always saw myself, envisioned myself when I thought about coaching as a football coach. And given the fact that I went on to play college baseball, it's not that that would have been impossible. It would have been, but it would have made it a lot more difficult. So I think just my vision of a football coach and knowing I hadn't really taken that path helped to lead me in this direction. But when you talk about Myers, right, the guy's a wizard. I mean, it's a credit to him for the work he put in. But at the same time, he had a pretty big benefit of picking my dad's brain. And my dad let us in a lot. He would show us, we'd be in the office a lot, draw some plays on the big screen, watch tape. Myers always had a playbook with him. At a young age, he'd keep it hidden in the house. He'd make plays, draw plays, hide it. Every once in a while, I'd get to see it. But from an early age, it was just so clear that he was passionate about football. So I'm so proud of what he's doing.
I have to imagine, because Dawn just being proud of you and being proud of Myers, that I have to imagine you probably have blue chip 5-star grandparents at your disposal as well. And I know you probably don't get to see them as much as you like, but I have to imagine, and your mom and dad, they're loving this.
Yes, that's a great point. I think we do have actually the 4 best grandparents in the world, combined with my wife. But yeah, they absolutely love it. They come out here as much as they can. They were here when Jane was born, and they're always asking about Pitt. So I think they do enjoy it. And I would certainly be irresponsible if I didn't mention my younger sister Georgie. She had a very quiet, successful career as a 3-sport bomber at Macomb as well. And she used that to go on and, talking about explore the world. She went to undergrad at Baylor and just crushed it. And now she's pursuing med school in Spokane, Washington.
Wow.
And so she's actually a role model of mine for the way she's used her talents, and she's going to do some amazing things in the world as well.
Let's talk about the architecture. What's next? I know that's super difficult to do in your line of work because things change and the landscapes kind of shift almost daily in college athletics. You have made incredible progress so far in this industry. Do you allow yourself to think about what's next, Dave, or do you just kind of bask in the moment, enjoy for what it is, give it the best you can, and what happens, happens?
Yeah, it's definitely present every day, and I think that's the way you have to approach it, because to your point, there is movement in this industry, and you have to be ready for it. But if that's your mindset, is looking for what's next, you're not giving that school everything you have. I mean, you're not giving that project everything you have. And so that's my approach. I believe that if I'm working hard, if I'm doing things right, then I gain the trust of the people around me. They'll give me more responsibility. I don't need to go look for it. Those doors open up. And then at that point, you'll get calls like Pitt, and you just got to be ready for that. But when it comes down to it, being present in the moment is huge. And I have an amazing wife, and we know whatever God has in plans with us, we're just going to go with it. But having her as well, she keeps me grounded. She reminds me of her values, and she provides a unique perspective, having been a student athlete as well. I actually bounce things off her all the time too.
I have to ask you, because you beat me to the punch earlier when you said this. In your rhyme, you're racing, K or U? Oh
my gosh, she crushes me. We've done it. I have nothing to stand on. I can't even make anything up. What I would say is I think I can get her under 100 meters. I think I can. But once you go 2, 4, 8, she's a lap ahead of me. She's amazing. I mean, she's so fast.
I need to ask you this because I think it's important to express to the young kids who are watching. You and Myers were both incredibly naturally gifted athletes for sure, but your parents made it a point to demand a lot of you academically from the job, maybe more than ever athletically. And now all 3 of the Hendrickson children are off an incredibly successful path. How important was that, just to be held to that standard and to see the success you've had today, that having a high bar matters in the world, Davis, especially young?
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris. And a high bar matters. I always come back to, again, the way that my parents established in us doing the little things right. And so, we were taught at a really young age to, when you shake a hand, do a firm handshake and look in the eye. And I think skills that simple are what are really going to help make difference for the next generation, because we're in an age now where you don't have to do that stuff. You can have a really successful career and never really talk to anybody. But I think if you want to take the next step, and I think if you want to be in college athletics, that face-to-face mentality is going to be super important. And my parents always stress that. And then, yeah, I mean, they set us up to do whatever we wanted to do. Again, they never pushed us, but they said, if you want to go to USC and try to walk onto the baseball team, we'll support that, and we'll do everything we can to make it possible. And so knowing I had that backup, that support, went a really, really long way.
I'm not doing my job if I don't ask you this, and we've had a couple of different folks who, like yourself, have had great success in college athletic administration at this point. This COVID-19 thing is probably the biggest stoppage in American life since World War II. How weird has this made your job? Because, I mean, you're basically in the job and business of connectivity with your alums, with your fans, with your student athletes, with your coaches. World is separated right now. What has the whole experience kind of been like, especially at a macro level at an institution like Pitt, Davis?
We've tried to adjust. I phrased the term, or used the term earlier, but trying to adjust on the fly. So at this point, it's a lot of online stuff. So I miss the handshakes and the eye-to-eye contact, but we're doing Zoom meetings right now just like this. And we're bringing coaches on with us. We're getting some of our top supporters. And it's actually been really good. People have loved it. To the point where we're probably going to continue doing this once COVID's gone, because we're realizing that people can't always come to our office and talk, but usually they have 10 minutes to jump on a call, especially if you don't have a coach on there with you as well. So we've been creative and done everything we can to continue to outreach it. At this point, it's us checking in on our fan base. We're not asking them for anything right now. We want to know how they're doing, and we want to know that we're there to support them, and all the years they supported us, we want to give that back to them right now.
Last one for you before I bring in our special guest cameos. Is there anybody in Macomb particularly, and I know obviously you kind of touched on a whole group, but is there anybody in particular you want to shout out for just being such a great part of your individual success story to this point? Because obviously, and I think you know this better than anybody, appreciation goes a long way in this world.
Yeah, it's a terrific point, Chris. And it's tough for me to even say a name because there are so many. But I did think about it before I jumped on here. And the name I have to make sure I mention is Coach Max Krebs. We moved to Macomb in 1999. I was in third grade. I think within the first 2 days, he was in my backyard and we were taking swings. So it wasn't quite that instantaneous, but my first year of Little League, Coach Krebs had me because his son, Derek, happened to be on the team. And so starting in third grade all the way through my junior year of high school, he was my baseball coach. And so when people go and give me credit for what I did at Illinois, I had essentially a personal tutor for 8 years, and so I give so much credit to Coach Krebs. And he would remind me names. Speaking of setting the bar high, of names like Phil Bradley. I had never met Phil Bradley. I think I may have met him once in high school, but I don't know him. He doesn't know me. But just having that role model, seeing that name up on the record board every year, we played on his field. So just having someone to constantly remind me that Coach Krebs deserves so much credit. I remember it was so special that first game I saw him my freshman year at Illinois. He came to a game, and there were a little bit of tears in both our eyes. Just so many flashbacks of what it took for me to get to that moment, what he meant to it. The other name I got to mention real quick is Dusty Binsko. Anyone that is familiar with high school athletics knows that name well. And he was in my life, a shorter amount of time, but he was there at a very pivotal time when I was about a sophomore in high school. He was helping out in Macomb High School. He had just fresh playing off at Illinois professional baseball. And he told me, and I remember the conversation well, he told me he thought I was good enough to play at Illinois. And that coming from someone that had done it and had so much success meant the world to me. And I felt like it gave me the confidence to then go out and really try to get it. Dusty's a humble guy. He would never admit he had anything to do with my opportunity, but that 30-second conversation alone was very influential.
Hendricksons are doing well, and I'm going to step out of the way because this is too cute right here.
So you've heard Katie's name mentioned several times. This is her, again, the fastest person in the world. And then this is little Jane, who's by far the cutest. And, luckily for her, looks a lot more like her mother. So we just feel so blessed, Chris. Before we log off here, we want to thank you as a family. Katie hears your name all the time and wonders, who is this Chris Dewar guy? So to get the chance to see you is special for all of us, and you've created so many memories for us in the tri-state, so we just want to say thank you.
Yeah,
well, you are far too kind, and the pleasure is all mine. And she is going to be she's a super cutie. I got a funny feeling she's going to be faster than the both of you when this is all said and done.
I think so. Katie, say hi.
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, guys. Fantastic job. Next Tuesday for that, and I greatly appreciate this.
We appreciate you, Chris. Thanks so much. Stay in touch.
Be safe, guys.
All right, bye.